Thanks, Kevin, and thank you for inviting me tonight. It's a privilege to um, be here and to be introduced and exchange thoughts with everyone. So yun, nag-start ako sa UP Baguio noong 2002. I grew up in Pangasinan. My dad is from Pangasinan in the coastal community in Benmale, but my mother is Bukidnon Lumad. She's really from Bukidnon. Yeah, so I chose UP Baguio because it's closest to, it's the UP parang unit that's closest to Pangasinan. And I really wanted to do social sciences. So I took economics and political science because I really wanted to be a lawyer back then. Yeah, so that's where my journey started. Um, all my college life, I actually worked as a research assistant for Chancellor Rovilios. He was the dean of no. He started as a professor back then. I started working with him when he was the director of the Kasarian Gender Studies program, and then from there I worked as a research assistant for that office for 3 years. But on my last semester sa UP Baguio, I was introduced to Dr. Erlinda Palaganas by the Guidance and Counseling Office. So aside from my research assistantship sa UP, sa mga naging career ko sa UP Baguio actually was being part of the peer facilitators group. This was a volunteer group sa UP Baguio noon, and we are actually in charge of providing psychosocial support to freshmen, so sa first year students. So yun yung career ko. Aside from being a student, I was also a working student and a volunteer full time to the guidance and counseling office. So it was there that I got to meet Dr. Palaganas, who is now with the Institute of Management and a former director of student affairs. So Ma'am Castor trained me how to do qualitative researches, and she's really engaged on indigenous health, knowledge and practices, and community health researches because she's a nurse by initial training, and then she had further training in management. So I worked with Ma'am Castor for a year in the organization, which was then known as FISA, Philippine Health Social Science Association. It's a national NGO with a regional office um, in Baguio. So I worked there for a year and experiencing community development for the first time, nagbago yung pangarap ko. So I wanted to be a lawyer, but nung na-experience ko nang mag-engage in community development, so I totally ditched my plan to take political science or law degree after, and then sabi ko magko-concentrate ako sa development work. However, in 2006, 2007, nagbago yung landscape ng funding agencies, and then yung Philippines hindi na siya part ng like development assistance priorities. So I did not have the chance to be a regular student, regular staff of FISA. So I volunteered there, and then pinasok ko ang mundo ng ESL, which is English as Secondary Language. During that time, boom na boom yung ESL training sa Baguio because of influx of Koreans. So I was working as a volunteer there, and then nagtuturo ako ng ESL. However, when I was in the ESL school, ang dami kong galit because there were a lot of violation ng teachers' right, walang benefits, etc. So I was just so angry with the system, and I felt like I needed more, like tools. So I started my MA with UP Baguio still with MADS. But if you'd notice, I took my MASD, I started in 2008, but I finished it in 2018. So it took me 10 years to finish my MA because of, personal needs. I'm actually kind of like the breadwinner for our family. I have a sister with psychological concern because she was a gender violence victim. So during my um, MA training, yung sakit ng ate ko, it was at the height. So I decided to stop muna and work. But during that time, I got to work with Dr. Ruvillos again, Chancellor RR, for a research on gender evaluation in the Cordillera. We evaluated microhydro projects. And then 2009, if you would remember, there was a massive typhoon in the Cordillera in northern Luzon, which was Pepeng. That was right after Ondoy. When Ondoy, this parang binaha niya yung Manila. Some weeks after came Pepeng, and it literally caused, like massive landslides in the Cordillera. So 2009, that time I became a volunteer for a soup kitchen. It's called the Team Cafe by the Ruins. So working with Team Cafe by the Ruins in the community, na-ignite ulit yung passion ko for community work. And then it opened opportunity for me to find job outside the volunteer work. After that, I became the program coordinator of People's Initiative for Learning and Community Development. We did alternative learning system sa Cordillera, particularly Benguet. And then we also did disaster education for different communities. In 2013, I actually applied to be a university researcher at the University of the Philippines, Baguio. I was like part of the last two candidates, but like lo and behold, I did not get the job. But that again gave me the opportunity to work with Ma'am Caster Palaganas, and in 2013, I got an international research opportunity with Ma'am Caster, and then I worked with the University of Ottawa here in Canada. So I was brought to Canada in 2013 for research dissemination of our project, and that's where I met Dr. Denise Spitzer, a feminist and migrant rights advocate, who is now my advisor in the School of Public Health. So in between 2013 to now, I was the director of Look Foundation, a local NGO in Baguio, and we were centered on providing eye and ENT services. But in my 5 years of working with Luke, I was able to establish the primary healthcare and research division of the NGO, and then from ENT and eye services, I expanded the programs and services of the foundation to include research and resource linkage building. So I worked there to promote sensory health and disability rights. I also started working on maternal and child health projects with Luke. I also started environmental health researches and indigenous health knowledge and practices. So I think one of the greatest trajectory of my work with Luke is really helping other organizations, other local government units all over the country to access grant funding. So I was, like giving them volunteer proposal writing, grant seeking services so that they find funding for research projects. In 2018, I was formally tired. Parang napagod ako sa work, and I felt like I needed to retool. And like Dr. Spitzer has been inviting me to join her in the gender studies program of the University of Ottawa, but I felt like I was never ready. In 2018, I felt, okay, this is it. This is the time na. Ready na ako. And my siblings were done with their college education, so feeling ko wala na akong responsibility and I can concentrate on my dreams again. So I finished my master's, and then shortly after that, I started processing my public health training here at the University of Alberta. It was kind of funny because I didn't want to pursue University of Ottawa anymore. I wanted to do public health, and I was eyeing for University of Alberta. And then when I communicated with Dr. Spitzer, it so happened that she moved from University of Ottawa to University of Alberta. So I became her first PhD student at the University of Alberta. And now I'm doing my health promotion training. So looking back, I think yung journey ko in social sciences, I would summarize it it's always about my hugot in life. Like my lived experiences, what was happening in my family was my motivation for selecting social sciences. It was also my reason for like doing research assistantship for um, the Kasarian Gender Studies program, my choice for work, my choice for advocacy. Second is I'm very thankful to people who invested in me, like Dr. Palaganas and Dr. Spitzer. I think it's really important for us to find people who would be willing to, like mentor us, who would be willing to be tough on us, but to also love us and teach us along the way. And then third, I think there are a lot of instances where I thought that I failed in my dream, only to realize that I just needed to part them. And then lastly, um, I always thought that, like graduating from UP with BA and MA, not MS or BS, is a weakness. Yung parang feeling ko na parang wala naman akong specialization, napaka-generalist ko. But now that I'm in public health and I realize that, health incorporates all the concerns of the world, and community development and health are closely linked. I finally realized that graduating from Soksai is not actually a weakness, but it's actually a strength because it gave me, the foundation that I need, and I really learn a lot from people. So, having humility and having the openness to learn from the perspective of people is such a big thing. I don't think that is taught in university. Like when you're taught to have a degree, when you graduate, when you have a diploma, they always say that like you achieved something, but they never really emphasize humility. And I think right now that like learning really starts from humility. So it's about like accepting what you do not know, being able to um, being open to what others have to say, being open to be taught, to be changed. And so yeah, I think as a social scientist, those are like the key lessons that I have learned so far in my research journey. And now that I'm training here in Canada, I'm just so excited to go back and share what I'm learning here, and to also like learn more from the people that I will work with in the future. So yeah, though that's my research journey, and I know my social science journey. You can ask me questions, or you can also share your experiences. So yeah, thanks for listening.